Brilliant. So thank you for coming today. I know there's been about 20 people sign up for this, so there'll be a lot of people coming on and looking at the recording. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And I'm Nila. So please be at your leisure. So if you are on video and you don't want to, or you need to go and attend to little ones, because I know like Jackie has to, please feel free to, switch off your video if and when you want. And please, be in your own invitation to do that. Good afternoon to you. Hi, I always pronounce it wrong. I'm really sorry. So without further ado, thank you for coming. And so this session is going to be a mix of me talking to your brain and kind of explaining why some of this works. But what I'm really hoping to do is once we've gone past a bit of the why, really get us moving. And so it's about energy and our flow management, because as far as I'm concerned, it's our secret weapon to most things. We kind of think that it's all happening up here, but actually, even if it is, we need to be taking control and bringing it back to our energy. And we can do that through our body. So I'm going to be talking for about an hour. Now, if you do have questions, please stop me in between. But we're going to be really looking at three parts to this. We're going to be looking at why energy is important and how we can cultivate it. We'll be looking at that lovely question, how are we leaking energy? How are we not standing in our power? And then we'll be looking at things that actually impact us. We're looking at things like the torus field, and then what we can do in our own sort of belief systems. And then the lovely question about how do we attract, how do we become that magnet? And as I walk through, I think some of that will become really evident as we go through there. So thank you for coming again. But what I wanted to do also, because as some of you may know, some of you don't know, I'm starting out afresh with my new business, Awakening Flow. And also we've just got the books come in that actually Sonia's in as well. It's just landed yesterday. I'm so excited. And so what I wanted to do as well was give a bonus prize, which I'm going to do at the end. So I will pick out someone's name. I've put it's 21 now. Tricia, you got in right at the end. So I've put everyone's name in there. So I'll pick that, and so then whoever gets picked can have that 90-minute free session, which I know most of you, probably not Kieran and not Jackie actually, have experienced in some form or another. So I'm really excited about that as we get on with that. I just wanted to ask, so I'm gonna ask you to be doing a little bit of reflection and some prompts. We're going to create a little map for ourselves. Has everyone got an A4 piece of paper that they can use or get hold of, and a pen? Awesome. Okay. So before I start in earnest, does anyone have any questions or anything burning that they really wanted to understand about energy before I start? And I could try to wrap that into our talk. No. Okay, brilliant. So before we do anything then, let's just let ourselves land in this beautiful space and just give ourselves a chance just to catch up with the day, and I'll bring all our energy back in to ourselves. So I'm just going to add a little bit of music. Just let me know if that's the right sound, that level. And just as we start, just give yourself a little shake out in your hands and just let go of the day. Let go of everything that no longer serves. And then just bringing yourself back in. And I'm going to say this a lot, but wherever your attention goes, your energy flows. So just be mindful about where that goes. And if it goes somewhere else, that's okay. Just let it be playful and just ask it to come back to where we are. Our brain always, our neuroscience tells us that our brain does one or two things. We ask it to do something, it gets distracted, we ask it to come back with no judgment, and then we say, well done for coming back. So throughout this whole practice, just kind of bearing that in mind. So as we do that, just know that wherever I ask any invitations, you are the authority of you. So like I said, if you need to switch off your camera, or get up when I say sit down, or you want to sit down when I say stand up, that's all good. So if you're safe to do so, just close down your beautiful eyes or just soften your gaze, whatever feels most comfortable. And just take a deep, cleansing breath in, and let it out with whatever way feels right for you. And this time, take a deep breath in again. And we're just going to let it out with horsey lips, signifying to our nervous system that we do not need to take ourselves so seriously. And then I'll just ask you now just to place the palm of your hand or two fingers at the center of your chest, as we just call in all the parts of ourselves, all our energy which may be scattered on our day, on our breakfast, on our to-do list, just compassionately, non-judgmentally now. Call it in. And feel the power within your heart center as we defer now to that Anahata chakra, the portal to our soul and wisdom. Just let ourselves be in this ever-present now. I just ask you now just to take another deep breath in from the chest down to the diaphragm and just hold it there. Feel that edge. And as you exhale, do an active exhale. So bring in that diaphragm, letting go the rib cage and the upper chest. One more time, breathing in for 4, actively through the heart, the chest, the side waist, the diaphragm, and let it go. And this time, as you breathe in your own natural rhythm, maybe just want to turn your lips, the corners of your mouth up a little bit. Maybe crack a smile and just congratulate yourself for being here. And just let it go. And let your breathing now return to its natural rhythm as I set the intention for this session, that we may be open in our hearts, be curious, and we hold the highest vibration of energy and flow that our bodies and minds allow us at this time. As we offer our small protective ways so we may stand in the highest vibration of love and peace and healing as we do this work. And so it is, and it is so. I just want to take this moment to thank all my teachers, formal and informal, for bringing me to this moment where I may impart this wisdom with you. I also acknowledge the custodial owners of this land and know that together in our prayers, our energies are rippling out. And so we also send that peace and love to all the places in the world that have been finding it hard with war and hardship. I invite you just to acknowledge yourself with compassion and love, just sensing that power behind your beautiful heart center as we begin this beautiful session together. And in your own time, just let yourself come back into this space and open up your beautiful eyes. That was an abrupt stop on my mute. Sorry about that. So just take on some water, and I hope that just kind of helps us, just eases our nervous system back into this beautiful space, which I'm going to be talking a lot about our nervous system today, because that really holds a really big key to our energy systems. But why does energy matter? Because as far as I'm concerned, and with a lot of the work that I do, we are energy. Everything is energy, and your energy matters. You have a ripple effect. And what I really want and hope by the end of today is you to understand and really start playing with that energy and knowing how much power you have to change not just your world, but everyone's around you. So really super fast introduction on me, in case you either know me or you don't know me in every context. And I'll keep this bit really, really short. But my background is very much 20 years in as a behavioral product management, working in technology, so solving human problems from a technology perspective. But after my 6th major operation, and I think when looking back now, unconscious trauma, I was pretty done. I was really defeated. I think my nervous system was really not where it needed to be. My energy was pretty scattered. And although at that point, in 2017, I did follow my intuitive nudge to leave and go to Brooks. It's actually where I know TS from as well, Oxford Brooks. And I did we did different courses, but I did a master's in psychology, did some brain scanning studies, but it was really the start of my healing journey. And what I learned through that was I learned some great tools, and I had, I did some counseling, CBT, but nothing really changed from the level that I wanted to do, because stress isn't sat in our mind, it's sat in our nervous system. And so that's where the solution also needs to sit. And then with that came the energy healing. And that's really what I wanted to really get across today, is the aspect of where we can start moving energy for us, become that magnet. But that's great. Someone else has just joined. I think they still had their microphone on. But before I go into that, what I really wanted to talk about is trauma really runs quite deep within our nervous system. So the nervous system is 37 miles long. So we have a nervous system, and we've got this energetic system. And a lot of the stuff happens on this sort of energetic realm. And then when it's not really dealt with at that level, we can feel into it there. It goes downwards, it hits our nervous system, it hits our body. And that's where I know for me and for a lot of other clients that I see, it starts emanating into illness, which is why we really need to start taking this seriously. And if you can imagine your nervous system, so just let yourself imagine now like a body of water. Let it be calm, let it be still. And then just imagine throwing a pebble into it, and it ripples. And that's the sort of ripple that we have, that's our energy. But then if we put a purple turquoise ink into this water, what does it do? It doesn't just kind of hover, it starts blending. There's an alchemy, it kind of melds with that. And that's really what's happening with our nervous system. Now, if it was something heavy like oil, maybe you could scoop it up and throw it out. But more often than not, when it's toxic, it really starts going into our system. And that's why we talk a lot about how the energy will affect the nervous system. And when we think about flow, we're really thinking about open. I mean, what do you think when you think about flow? Hopefully, for me anyway, it's open, it's expansive, it's being and taking that space. But what can happen when it's not allowed to is it can start to concretize, and it can start to really start settling in there. And what this last 3 years have really shown us with COVID is something that I think we've all known, but work have always told us we couldn't, it was separate, that work and life were different, and we had work stress and we had life stress, and we could separate the two. But it's a myth. There is a myth about the work-life balance, because your nervous system doesn't react like that. So we need something that's going to allow us to address both, because we can't compartmentalize. And so that's really why today, when we started the meditation, we started with calling in our energy. Now, we did some active diaphragmatic breath. And the reason why we started with that diaphragmatic breath, building from the chest downwards, is that we have something called the vagus nerve. Now, some of you may know it and some of you won't. So just excuse me if I'm going over stuff that you already know. But the vagus nerve is like our resilience nerve. It's a 10th cranial nerve. It goes from the back of our head right into us. The first part, it's connected to our gut, which is why so many women have IBS, so many women have stomach issues, and so many people also find that whole area starts to feel quite stressed. And so it drops into that. So it's the dorsal-vagal that sits within that section. And so when we place our hand on there and we place our hand, we are actively pushing and countering what would be a parasympathetic response. And that would tend to make us freeze or flee, not freeze or for women, we can also do something called fawn, where we kind of just agree. We don't really agree, but we agree because we don't want to be that combative person, because we don't want to be challenging. We actually feel that that's not safe. And so our bodies have been able to do that as a mobilizing us into safety. But what that can mean is we can collapse. From an energy perspective, it's collapsing inwards. And then when that's not dealt with, that can lead to real sort of health problems. Now, when it's working, it's resting and it's digesting. All last week on Instagram, I was talking about bed life. I was not well. I was feeling quite wary. And so what I did was I got into bed and I just rested my nervous system. I did a lot of writing there, but it meant that I was breathing in and I was really doing active recovery. Now, on the flip side, the sympathetic nervous system, which we would do fight and flight, when it's working well, it's playing and it's exciting and it's doing all that. But it can also mean that we can be a little bit like, and we can be overwhelmed. And so some of the things that we can do with the vagus nerve when it comes to that overwhelm is something really simple. And I'm going to get us to do it now. Actually, I was doing it just before I walked in here. It's a really interesting movement. So what happens with the vagus nerve is there's a connection that goes from our heart up to our face, up to our eyes, and up to our head. And that's a social connection nerve. And when we feel in connection with people, we can feel safe. I'm going to put away people that are neurodiverse here who find it hard to engage with eyes. That's a different conversation. But when we engage, we feel a sense of safety. But we can do that for ourselves. Firstly, just by cupping our face. Just maybe do that. Just cup our face. And that, no one else needs to do this for us. We've got all the power to do this for ourselves. And that just brings us back to ourselves. Putting your hand on your forehead. Breathing in and out. And a really lovely one that I use, some of you may have experienced this with me, I just do a figure of 8 around my face. And that's just telling your nervous system, I'm safe, I'm here. And you tend to do it until you yawn, because when you yawn, it's the change of energy. It's a really good sign. We kind of frown on it, but actually it's a really good thing to be doing. And when we get up, I'm going to be doing something to activate a little bit more, but they're great things to do if you're feeling a little bit uncertain or you need to ground. Just doing those sort of small movements. And so why it's important, and I'm going to get to the energy now, the energy part. What is the energy? What is the mechanics of the energy? The energy is something that we've already said is all around us, and it's palpable. Many top performers talk about that energy as, I don't know if you remember Rafa Nadal at the Wimbledon. He had a really bad stomachache, but he was like, the energy of the crowd got me going. And he played, he won, and then he quit. And he didn't finish the tournament. And the World Cup over the summer, the Lionesses, the British Lionesses, Sonia, just for your reference, the football team, they won. And they were saying it was the energy of the crowd that got them through, and it was dynamic. And again, it's that pebble effect. But the thing about energy is the law of thermodynamics will tell us you cannot destroy energy. It needs to be transformed. It needs to be transmitted. So what we're doing with all of these movements, and movements like these simple movements, mudras, I'm going to show you some, all of these things, chanting, singing, dancing, just shaking, they're all moving energy. And so we need to use the right type of energy depending on what state you're in. Are you feeling safe? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you feeling angry? We've got all these different tools at our disposal to make sure that we can bring ourselves back into alignment with all of these things. It's really interesting because Einstein said E equals MC squared. And I only really took notice when I joined the Institute of Intuitive Intelligence, which is where I learned a lot of these tools. And then I did other courses within Body Lab around the nervous system. But all that equation means is energy equals mass or matter. We are matter. And so when we get excited, we can turn that into energy. And the most simple example, and again, apologies, Sonia, who's heard this probably several times, but the best way to visualize this is a block of ice, which is just dense matter. It's just, you know, it's heavy, it's concretized, and then you excite it by warming it up. It turns into water, and then the water gets excited a bit more and it turns into gas. And so there's that transference of energy. And that's what's happening with us and our energy. And I'm going to talk a little bit later about what I call the fab, which are our emotions, our feelings, actions, and our beliefs. When are our fab, not our fab? So all of these things, when they're not great, they can make us into that concretized heavy energy. And that's what I'm going to be talking to in a little while. But I also just want to show you the idea of a torus field, because we have a torus field around us all the time. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to share what that looks like. Can you see my screen? Did I share that or not? No. Hang on. You are still there. Let me share my screen. Hold on. I thought I just stopped everything then. Share screen. Basic. And that one. Okay. Can you see my screen here? I'm going to assume yes, because I can't see you or hear you now. So
no, Nila, we can't see your screen.
You can't. You still can't.
No.
Okay.
It says that you're still sharing your computer sound, so you might need to just switch off.
Right. Thank you for that. Stop sharing that. There's that. Share. It's because I didn't press share. That would be why. Hey, can you see it now? Yeah, awesome. Okay, so we all have a torus field, and the torus field surrounds everyone, and it's around this world. It's around an apple. It's around everything we do. And so it's really important to just really understand that we have this torus field, and sometimes that torus field is big and sometimes it's small. And studies have actually shown that, for example, I've got a dog, and the studies have shown that people with a dog who love their dog, not get bitten by a dog, their field will grow. And then when they're feeling under threat, or if they're feeling sad, or if they're feeling not heard, the torus field shrinks back down. Now, with the measurements that they've got at the moment, they know it goes at 2 meters, but it's pretty much bigger than that. And the reason why that's important is the field is very much like a magnet. And this is where the attraction part comes in. So if you imagine a magnet, which is a strong magnet, it will pull things in, and it will also polarize things that are not attracted to it. And so it has that effect of pulling great things in, but if you're not at the same vibration as something else, it will reject it. And so that's why it's really important. You'll see that when I start talking about feelings of worth and feelings of anger, where anger meets anger. And this is where this is coming from. Now, I'm going to just show you, this is interesting because I had my biofield done. And so this is just me. My daughter thinks I look really fat here. It is me, or at least she told me it was me. I mean, you can do this in a number of different places, but I'd had this done when I went to see a kinesiologist. And I'm just going to stop sharing here, but if I can stop sharing, okay. Stop sharing. There we go. And so what I want you to do at this moment is maybe just grab, I'm just looking at the time, but maybe just grab that piece of paper that we had. And on that piece of paper, I just want you to take it and fold it. Okay, and then I just want you to, as you take that, just turn it over and then just take the bottom of the paper and flip it down. So just run up and then just flip it down. And then the other side, just flip it down. Okay, and on the bottom of that piece of paper, I just want you to put an X. Big X at the bottom. Can you see that? I don't think you can. Never mind. And then I'd just like you to, at the top of the paper, just answer these questions. If you could visualize your torus field now, how scattered would it be from 1 to 10? Just write the first number that comes to your mind. And in terms of your, I'm just going to start with health and radiance. Again, out of 10, 10 being great, 1 being not great, what would that energy feel like at the moment? And then your connections or your relationships from 1 to 10. And now, is there something in your life that is really good, that you've got a great energy about? And on the flip side, something in your life that isn't great energy. Okay, and so then if we go to the bottom of that paper, I just want you to go ask yourself, what do you want your energy signature to say to others? Do you want to be energetic? Do you want to be a goddess or a wizard or a radiant or in love? What, I'm just going to let you finish writing that. What feeling do you want them to have with your energy? Warmth, welcoming, love? And one last question. What do you want to attract? Now, this is on a recording, so you can come back and actually think about this a bit more. So the reason I got you to do that, it's like we've got little hills, little mountains to climb. And so what we're going to do is actually, I'm conscious that we've got 30 minutes left, but what I'm going to do is ask you to, on the hills or on the up slopes, going upwards, is actually say, what am I finding hard? What are the things that are getting in my way? What are the things that I want to work on? And on the down slope, maybe the tools that I talk to, write some of those down. What could be helpful to you? What could we do? So on the up, what's going to help you go uphill with your energy? And on the downhill, what are some of the tools that we could be using? What are some of the people that we could be using? And what we're really trying to do is close the gap between where we are now and where we want to get to. So where's the gap between what we want and say and do and get? So I kind of leave that bit. I'm going to prompt us as we go through, but I'm just conscious of time. Now, I want to talk about entrainment. This is really important, energy entrainment. So again, back to that pebble analogy. If I threw 1 pebble in the water, it ripples. If I threw 2 pebbles in the water, one was big and one was small, obviously the bigger one's going to ripple and it's going to impact it. But we have the same effect. Now, I don't know, has anyone heard of the pendulum clock phenomenon? My neuroscientist friend was talking to me about this. So when I did my EEG, the way that we do that is we measure electromagnetic frequency in our brain, because that's what we are. We are all frequency. Everything's got a frequency. And what he was telling me was, if you put 12 pendulum clocks into a room and they're all different sizes and they're all slightly out of sync, and then you walked out and you walked back in, what would happen 2 weeks later? They'd actually be synced up. And they'd be synced up to the one with the strongest frequency. That's called entrainment. It's almost like, you know, when you go somewhere and someone doesn't even say anything and they're just magnetizing and they're shining and they're glowing. And all of the things are just like, I want to be them. And there's times where you walk in and you just feel like a wallflower. And their energy is really small. And maybe you didn't even notice their energy. That was me at school. I was the wallflower. Then there's the other part of this. There's, if I had two guitars in the same room and I plucked the G string on the other side of the room would actually vibrate, because like meets like. And so there's this frequency going on. So it's the same with women. Sorry, I'm really sorry, Kieran. Same with women and periods. If we all lived in the same place for long enough, we would all sync up on our period. You know, and it's like you go into a meeting and then you get one person who's really heavy energy and it just kind of sucks the life out. But can you hold that energy high enough to not be sucked down? I was at work and there was this girl that came in. She was really chaotic and she was like, didn't know we were all hot desking. And the girl next to me was like looking at her, and she was really chaotic and slightly, because her energy was really high, but in a really bad way. I've had lots of directors like this. And then she walked away and the other girl was like, oh my God, that was just weird. I don't know what to do. And I said, all right, just get up and shake. Just shake it off. And that's, again, we're talking to our nervous system. I do this a lot. I got us to do it at the start because we're getting it out of our nervous system, because trauma is just stuck. It's just stuck in motion and we don't want it. We've got to get it out. We've got to move it. And that's why we're having this felt sense. And there's a beautiful piece of research that was done over a couple of decades by Dr. Eugene Gilburn. And he said that all of the therapists, if you go to, you know, he was looking at all the different types of therapy and which was the best. And it didn't matter which was the best. What mattered was that the patient had a felt sense of themselves, that they could feel into their body. Because what happens when we get into a lot of trauma, especially when we can't feel into our body anymore, is that's where it gets stuck. And that's why when I keep saying, let's move, let's do something, feel in, and it could be a soft, elegant movement, but it needs to be intentional. I kind of, when I do my dance sometimes, I imagine Jackie's had this, a little ball of light in my hand, and then I kind of place it in and I imagine it rolling down my arm and breathing it back in. And it's that slow movement, but it's intentional and it's conscious, and I'm loving every part of my body. And so the question I have is, how affected by other people's energy are you? And just make a note of that. And just also make a note of whose energy, what are they doing? Because at these moments, we leak energy, but worse than that, we're giving them our power. I often think of it like having my panic button exposed and someone's just hitting it. My daughter used to do this, she still does this to me sometimes. And then I take a breath, hand on heart, and I bring myself back. And sometimes I do that. But what I just quickly want us to do, actually, I'm going to end with this, but there's a flow that we can create. So we get activated, hand on heart, conscious breath in, bring it back in. Find that flow, find the breath. And then if some of you are familiar with the chakras, I always imagine kind of pulling in each of the chakras and breathing in, base chakra, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, head, top of the head. And then I kind of have this magnetic pole up and down very slowly, and we'll end with this. But what that means is I'm aligning myself, I'm holding my vibration high. And then I have this kind of, I imagine a golden glow all around me. And when I do that, and I do this often before I go places, let me hold my vibration as high as I can. Let me go with my egoic small waves. And so only people at this highest level can reach me. Now, I'm not asking for protection, because then I would need something protecting from, because the universe works in very silly ways. You know, it just does what it says. If you ask for protection, it's all right, here's something to be protected from. But I don't. I just say, I'm glowing, I'm loving, I'm high. And so that is part of the entrainment that we actually do. And being curious about, oh, I was activated, not, oh, I feel shame, oh, I was feeling this. If you're curious, oh, that was an activation, let me just bring myself back in. Now, one of the biggest things that we can actually do that really hits on this is our feelings, actions, and our beliefs. Fab. The feelings that we feel, are you feeling shame? Are you feeling down? Are you feeling good enough? Are you feeling, what are you feeling? These tend to go on to actions that could either mean you withdraw, or it could mean that you're angry because you're right and you have to be right. And then the behavior, the beliefs are lower than that. And the beliefs are the things that are running at an automatic level. So again, really quickly, our brain works in 3 levels. It's got this, if you imagine this is your brain, and it's got 3 levels. The first is the lowest part. Am I safe? This is the automatic part. It runs 20 times faster than your logical brain. Inside, we've got the emotional side, or the limbic system. Am I loved? That runs 5 times faster. And then we have the logical executive attention. Am I learning? But it's the last to catch up, which is why we get emotionally hijacked so often, because we've already got, so yesterday it was really interesting because I got the books in. Neither my daughter or my husband even picked it up to have a look at it, and they didn't read it. Now I was like, I'm not supported. I'm never supported. They don't love me. And then I offer this. Is that true? Is that 100% true? No. What else could it be? Let me get curious. Could just be that my daughter's got homework and my husband's going to the gym, and maybe he will do it at the weekend. Okay. But the thought that was rattling around me was, no one loves me. No one supports me. And I'm doing blah, 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 blah. Pity party time. You see, what would I be without that thought? Third point, I'd be happy enough and I could carry on preparing for this and leave my energy high. And then I'll talk to them later. But there's another thing I did do, and this is really powerful. It's called tapping. Some of you may have done it. Some of you may have done it with me, but it's like acupuncture for your nervous system. There are setup statements, but in this particular case, even though I'm feeling like no one supports me, I'm just going to say even though no one's listening to me, even though my child won't go to bed on time, even though I feel fear and self-doubt that I haven't done this well enough, I accept myself just the way I am. So just on that fleshy part, and we can just do that, even if you've got no words and you're just feeling a little bit tense. Even though I've had these fears and self-doubts, I accept myself just the way I am. And what we normally do is go through, and there are various points that we do. And what we're actually doing in here as we do that is, as I said, energy needs to transmute and transfer. We meet ourselves in that rubbishness. We meet ourselves in the fear. We meet ourselves in the poo that's on the best way our tapping teacher described this was, if there was poo on the table in the kitchen, you wouldn't just keep putting air freshener around it, right? You'd have to pick it up and deal with it. So you got to look at it. Otherwise, like a child who wants your attention, they keep shouting and they keep wanting your attention. And when you pay attention to it, it's easier to transmute that energy. But that's where the work is. What I was quoting earlier, is it true? Is it 100% true? Is work done by someone called Byron Katie. The book's called The Work. It's a little bit complex, and I didn't give you the last step because that would require a lot more discussion. But even if you just had those 3 steps, for me, they've really helped me through the last couple of months when I've been really concretized. Because when we have those feelings, those words, those feelings, and the language we use concretize us even more. They're really heavy energy. There's a book called The Map of Consciousness. Dr. David Hawkins, he's mapped this, and he actually put them in levels. And I just wanted to say that actually courage as a level isn't actually that high. Helplessness, anger is pretty low down, but which do you think is higher, helplessness or anger? Any ideas?
Helplessness.
Helplessness is higher or lower?
Higher.
No, anger is higher than helplessness, because when we're really helpless, when we're feeling really resigned, we have no energy. We're like, don't move. At least with anger, it gets you moving a little bit. Now, it's not great. And then we move up and we get to courage, and then we get to love, and then we get to compassion and reverence and ineffability. And there's this map that we go up. But essentially, as we go down this scale, our energy is contracting. That Taurus field is contracting, which is why it's really, really important to be mindful of the thoughts that you're having, the conscious thoughts you're having, and then what we actually do. And I was listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's written great books. He actually also says, you know, where you place your attention is where your energy goes. He was on Instagram today saying, you can have the best diet, you could be vegan, you could do healthy stuff, you could run, you could do all of the stuff. But if you are telling your brain that you are not good enough, and you have this shame and you have these fears, your fab is not fab, you might as well just give it up. You are turning on a cancer protein. You are turning on health. I've forgotten the word that I'm thinking of, but they all lead to really heaviness. And he's done a lot of research where he does EEG and he has lots of blood physiology. So I'm always looking at the work he does. So that's where the work is. And I'm going to turn now quickly to how we magnetize. Now, we magnetize and we attract when we, and I'll show you the diagram in a moment. Once we've cleared that rubbish out the way, once we actually believe that we can manifest or we are worthy. So a lot of our fab means that we are not worthy. So I wanted to be a millionaire 2 years ago. I didn't think I was worthy of it. I wanted to leave work and do this. 2 years ago, I didn't think I was worthy of it. There was a lot of tapping that went on to actually, and even the last 6 months, am I worthy of this money that I'm attracted? And you can tap through this, and there's some great books, and I've done this a lot for myself. But if you're telling yourself you want £1 million, but then your subconscious doesn't believe it, it can't match up. It needs to match up. And I'm not going to show you the diagram because I'll end up sharing that, but your conscious thoughts and your subconscious thought need to be paired. So what we talked about with the fab is something called the law of correspondence. If we took it to ancient wisdom, there's some laws called the Hermetic laws. I lead my life by these, and I will just quickly just share because I think it's really interesting to share now. Okay. So these are the laws. So we've got the law of correspondence, which we talked about, all our beliefs and all our fab. And then we've got this vibration and the energy, and we can change our energy signature to do some, but we can't bypass this work. This is the hard stuff. This is what I spent a lot of time on. And so when we deal with this, if you wanted to get to intuition, or you want to have a great relationship with money, but you don't feel worthy, then it's almost like loads of these boxes, and the door that you want to get to at the back is the money, the door to your £1 million, or the door to your intuition, or the door to your love partner that you really want. But all of these boxes are all of the stuff that is sat in your unconscious, and they'll keep sitting there. And what we need to do is bring that unconscious and conscious desires together. And so that's what the work is. But what we can do, and what I hopefully, can you stop sharing? Hopefully on the paper that you've got, I'm going to leave you with some prompts for you to actually start investigating, where are you not feeling that? Because everything has an energetic exchange. So even money, there's an exchange. Do you think money loves you back? If you're writing a book and you're writing the book, do you think your book loves you back? Because if you don't think it's going to love you back, then you can't have an equal relationship. So someone asked the question before about, if you give and you surrender, and you willingly, unconditionally surrender, then how do you have a balance of that exchange? Well, if you give, you will always receive. That is the law. But you've got to be open to receive. And you've also got to question, who's asking about being unconditionally giving? Because only the egoic, protective mind is saying, there's a condition and I need something back. If you truly give, you do it and you help someone, don't expect anything back. You probably won't get it. But if you are doing that, then you will get that back, as long as you're open for that. And I think that's the part that we can't block ourselves. Make sure that you have healthy boundaries. If you're one of these people that just keep giving and giving and giving, where's the boundary? That's going to deplete your energy too. So give with an open heart, but receive. I found it really hard to receive money, as some of my clients would know, and they kind of forced it on me, which has been brilliant. And that for me is work. And I had to tap my way through that. I happily receive. So that is that balance of exchange for the money. But the real key about manifesting, it needs feeling. So if you are wanting to manifest something, firstly, do it in the present tense, like it's here, because in the unified world, there is no time and space. Everything is now. So call it in as now. So I am so blessed that I've got my money miracles now. Full stop. I'm so blessed I've got the love of my life and I feel so held. Full stop. Jamar is like, thanks the goddess. And so it is, and it is so. So that's how you do it. But you've got to do it with feeling, and all the feeling you can muster. We've really got to raise that energy. Otherwise, it's a affirmation. Today, I'm going to feel really happy. That felt great. Today, I am happy, and I raise my vibration to the highest level, and I shine, and I let everyone else shine. Bring it, bring it, bring it. And if you don't feel it, bring it like this and just say, yes, yes, I could make you do this. If you really want to do this, you can do. But if you feel like it's not there, just put some music on, dance, move, just let yourself feel into that and then raise your hand. But it's just as important to say no as it is yes, because your yeses mean nothing if you can't say no. So you do that with a no. No. This requires some safety. Now, some people can't say no, and some people have this. So this is why I would work with people to actually help people say no, and it's actually quite hard to do that. I have magically gone through the key bits of my content, but what I want to do now is just ask you, before we go into our final part of our meditation, is looking at that piece of paper that you've got there. What action do you need to do to get you from the top to the bottom to the energy? You just had to pick what thought do you have to counter? What belief do you need to counter? That's quite a hard one. I'm going to let you stew on that. And you may even want to do a bit of journaling around that. And what tool or what support might you need to get you to that energy that you actually want? What I'm also going to do, we've got the last 8 minutes, and I just want us to finish with a meditation where we're encoding the energy signature that we want to. So what that means is, if you want to feel abundant and wealthy and loving and connecting, just pick 3 to 5 words. Just write them down. Just let them be the first thing that comes to mind. And I'm just going to run us through our last sort of 7 minutes. And I'm going to just invite us into an open, expansive meditation. So I'm going to do something that I've been using all the way through this, called A flow. Obviously, it has to be awakening flow, but A flow, we get activated, hand on heart. We create a flow with our breath up and down. We light up our hearts. We're open and curious, and then we can turn to wave, and then we can take it from there. But if we're activated, hand on heart, or we want to activate this. So without further ado, I am going to just quickly put on my music again. I just feel that just helps. And just give yourself a little shake. And then just bring yourself back into your heart, to your seat. Maybe just take on some water if you like. Congratulate yourself for listening to my voice for this long. Take a deep breath in and let it out with an audible sigh. Another deep breath in and out. And with your hand on your heart now, if that feels good for you, just let that light, just sense, feel, or imagine the light at the center of your chest, just growing and expanding with every breath in and out. Just feeling the seat beneath you, supporting you, holding you. And with your next breath, just let your thoughts just go to the base of your spine and give a little hug, moving up to our sacral space and our solar plexus, our heart center, throat, and just feel the space within the space now behind your eyes. All the way up to your crown. And with your next breath out, let yourself breathe it all the way out from the top of your head like you're a whale, just out of your head. And in your next breath in, imagine the light from the universe pouring through your crown. Right down, past your third eye, relaxing your jaw, down to your heart, relaxing your shoulders, letting go, letting go, letting go. All the way down to your base and into Mother Earth. And in your next breath in, your breath from Mother Earth all the way up through your beautiful, strong and flexible spine. And let it just land now in your heart center. Sense, feel or imagine now that light growing ever bigger in your heart, expanding up to the top of your head, down to the tips of your toes. Relaxing, melting away your physical body. No effort required. Let it melt away your body and let your energy now, the glow of your light and consciousness, just play around you, surround you like a globe. Let that power and the light of your consciousness fill the entire room now, your energy and your torus field, shining bright. Let it melt away your whole building, elegantly, effortlessly, just flowing out now, over your town or region. And in your next breath, let it cover your whole country. Easily, effortlessly, the light of your field, your consciousness, effortlessly now surrounds the whole of the hemisphere, and in your next breath, the whole world. And as your light and our light together surrounds the whole planet, bring to mind the words that you wrote on those papers, the 3 words that you want to attract in your life. And let it anchor all the way through you, all the way through that torus field, all the way down into your heart center, down into the earth, and up all around you, back to the beautiful universe. Let them anchor into your heart being so grateful that it is already here. Feel the energy of those words radiating out from your heart, back to your shoulders, down your hands, as if it's just tingling around your fingers. And in your next breath now, let yourself land back in your heart space. And when you're ready, just opening up your beautiful eyes. Just take on some water. And just let yourself sit with those feelings after this call is ended. And I just want to thank you all for your time. I've come right to the hour, but if I have got a little bit of time, if anyone has any questions, then please unmute, let me know, or any experiences or any reflections. I am just going to pick out actually the number that I've got, and I just wanted to do this for you today, and hopefully you've got some tools. I know it was probably, I put in much more than I thought I was going to do, so I had to skirt through it really quickly. This is a 2 or 3 hour workshop where we stop and we integrate, but hopefully you got some tools out of that. If this resonated, please do tell other people. Check me out on awakeningflow.com. I'm on Instagram too, and let other people know. And I am just going to pick out a random, that one, a random number. You don't know what the numbers are, but I have got them in front of me. And so I will send an email out. It's number 10. So it's on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. Charlotte Briery. But I don't think Charlotte's here. So Charlotte, well done. You get my 90-minute free Awakening Flow mentoring method. I'll send you an email. So when you clock on, apologies for the people online, but of course, happy to offer anyone that wants the method 20% off. I know I'm talking to some of you already, or I'm already working with you, so that's brilliant. But do let me know. I'll send that link out. But thank you. Has anyone got any questions? I know it was a bit of a whistle tour. It is a really big subject. No. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time and your energy. And I hope you got something from that. Go back to that map and please just try to see where, you can close that gap. But I just wanted us to have something to kind of see what are the big hills that we need to get over? What are the things that can help us? How do we get to X, which is always where we want to go? Okay, so on that note, I shall say goodbye. Thank you so much. And hopefully next month, I'm going to be doing more of a straightforward meditation embodiment session, but we're going to be working on those energy centers, the chakra centers, because each one of those is like a little power center and a little energy. And when we unlock them, they have information for us that can really help us open up to our energy centers, which is a lot of the work I also do at the one-to-one, but the embodiment session just allows us to do slightly different things in a group setting. So I'll still got to set a date for that, but once I do, I'll let you know. Thank you so much again, and thank you for anyone listening that couldn't make it today. And I just want to say, Cecilia, it's lovely to see you again. It's been for so long. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you, Nila.
Thank you so much, Nila. It's so nice to see you again.
I sent the invitation, but it was last minute to some of my friends, but they are very interested. So
some of them asked me to send a recording to them, so that's what I'm going to do.
Nice.
And thank you, Trusha, for your time as well, and Kieran, Sonia, Elaine, Jackie, of course, who's got a little one who was trying to put somebody who I think is still awake. But thank you so much, and I shall talk to you. Please reach out if you have any questions, or I can be available after this. Well, actually, I can't because my daughter's going on a school trip tomorrow, so I need to get her packed. All right. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Nila.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 God bless.